Hey guys, Waffles here, and this video is going to be the start of a brand new series called Knowing Your Abilities. That's right, in this series we are going to go over some abilities in the game that are class specific and some abilities that are universal, like in the V Matrix. We all know that Maplestory might not be the best game when it comes to their coding, because just by playing the game, you can feel how unstable it is. However, some of these instabilities lead to the discovery of these tricks that I'd like to call techs or techniques. These can be used to enrich your experience or improve the way that you are playing the game currently. My mission with this series is to showcase these so-called tricks whenever I discover them, and to teach you them so that you can use them for your class and your experience. So, what other way to start off but with a universal skill on the first episode. Today we are going to be looking at Ropelift, and more specifically we're going to be looking at the V Matrix one in comparison to the Kaiser and Angelic Buster version of it. What are their differences, if there are any? And most importantly, what tricks can we apply to make this skill better? So what is Ropelift? Well, Ropelift is a skill that was introduced to us with the launch of the V patch. But there were actually two earlier versions of this skill that did basically the exact same thing. These skills belong to the two playable Nova races in the game, being Kaiser and Angelic Buster, and it was given to them in the very beginning of the game in their beginner tab. Now these skills might have the same principle, but they're actually a bit different from one another. The most obvious difference would be that the Angelic Buster version and the Kaiser version do not have a cooldown, while the one in the V Matrix actually does have a cooldown. However, the one in the V Matrix actually does have a passive all-stat boost, which is actually pretty nifty. And believe it or not, that's pretty much all the differences between these three skills. So what does this skill do? This skill on activation is going to hook onto a platform above your character and will take you to that spot. But here's something interesting. When your character is propelled upwards, they will eventually move into this sprite animation. While your character is in this animation specifically, you actually cannot perform any actions at all. In this clip, after I activate Ropelift, I'm actually holding down the attack key, and you can see that only after the animation is done I can attack. But there is a way for you to skip this part of Ropelift. Let me show you how it's done. We know that the first input of Ropelift will activate the skill, but pressing the button again cancels Ropelift, allowing you to perform actions that you would otherwise want. Unfortunately, canceling your Ropelift also means that you will cancel your vertical momentum, meaning that you'll come to a stop and land on the nearest platform. Now you might be asking, is it possible to go to the normal height and also cancel? To answer this question, yes, this is possible, but to pull this off consistently, you need good timing and also some practice. Let's take a closer look at what Ropelift does. When you first activate the skill, all movements made to your character are completely stopped. This also applies if you are in mid-air. The game does this in order to calculate how high and how far it needs to boost you a lot easier. So basically, if you can trick the game into thinking that it stopped all of your movements, you can then go to higher heights. So how do we do this? Well, it's very simple. If the game detects your Ropelift input and stops all your movements, all we need to do is move on the exact same frame as the input. So we need an action or skill that moves us vertically while also giving us no ending leg so that we can cast it on the exact same frame. A very obvious answer to this is the jump button, which is perfect. In this clip, we can see that the player jumps at the same time that they use Ropelift. We tricked the game into thinking that we're on the ground, but we're actually moving up slightly. Then, the game is going to calculate how high it needs to boost us based off the ground, which in turn, since we're in mid-air, will give us an even higher boost to reach even higher platforms than we would want. After we blast off, all we need to do is cancel the Ropelift to descend back down. And this is where timing becomes very important. Cancel too early, you will not reach the desired platform. Cancel too late, and you won't even cancel. The timing is different based on how high the platform is and how far you want to go, so you have to work with it. Now that we know that jumping works for boosting your Ropelift, what else works? Well, some classes have a flash jump that is compatible with Ropelift. And I say some classes because I mean it, because just because you have a flash jump doesn't mean you can pull off this skill. An interesting example is that for some mysterious reason, Angelic Busters can only rope boost on the second flash jump and not the first. When we were talking about tricking the game into thinking your character stops, we used a jump to trick the game. Using this principle, we can jump into the air and perform a flash jump while also using Ropelift at the same time. The game changes our motion to 0, but flash jump changes it back to a movement, thus sending you to greater heights. And all this is happening while also displacing your character horizontally. One thing that's pretty cool about displacing your character horizontally is that if you move towards an area with no platform, you will actually still go up. Another thing I forgot to bring up, if you perform a jump or flash jump into a Ropelift, then cancel Ropelift into an attack, some animations will actually get cancelled out, allowing you to perform 2 attacks in a much shorter time frame. It should also be noted that if you perform this trick within the vicinity of another player, it looks pretty interesting on their screen. And so we have reached the end of the first episode of Knowing Your Abilities. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you guys have any skills you would like me to go over, please let me know. I've always wanted to learn as much as I could about the game that I treasure the most, showcasing really cool tricks that you can do. Thank you very much for helping support the growth of this new channel. This has been Waffles, signing off.